Veni Creator Spiritus, mentes tuorum visita.
Hey, I'm Nick Scotto.
And I'm Lauren Scotto.
We're married. We live up here in Jacksonville. We've been married for about 7 years, and we wanted to share with you guys our testimony about how we met each other and what was a little bit unique to our relationship, if you will, before we got married. Probably the most important thing that was unique to our relationship is that we dated for 3 years and we never kissed. That's right. We didn't kiss each other until we were on the altar at the church. So we wanted to kind of share that story to you, how that came about, how we persevered through that, how we were able to strengthen our relationship, and and even the struggles that came along with that. So we actually met in graduate school, in physical therapy school. We had both finished our degrees in undergraduate, and so we had both gone to graduate school up at the University of North Florida, and I saw Lauren, and something attracted me to her naturally, as you can see. And so I was really interested in her, and then we ended up finding out that each other was Catholic, and that helped a little bit. And she had no idea that I liked her, of course. But when it came down to the time to like, hey, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna date, or what's gonna happen here?
I figured I would drop the bomb smoothly. So we met before class one day, and Nick's like, well, I like you. I would like to pursue a relationship further. You know, said not like that.
I wasn't so proud of that, yeah.
So I wanted to let him know from the beginning, okay, I think I like you too. I just want to let you know that I'm saving my kiss for my next kiss for my husband. And he was like, so not even after a year of dating? And I was like, no. And he was like, so not even after the engagement? And I was like, no, at the marriage altar, like at the marriage. You know, you could break up before that. You never know. And from my previous relationships, I knew for me that kissing could lead to things that I didn't want to go. And so years before I ever met Nick, I had decided I don't want to kiss any more guys until my husband. So I wanted to save that. So how did you feel about that?
I mean, initially I was, it wasn't a complete, like, how would you say, it wasn't a deal breaker, but I thought a little bit deep down, I was like, okay, well, maybe there'll be a compromise somewhere along the line, like maybe after we're engaged, or maybe after this or that. So there was that little glimmer of hope, maybe, that I held out for, even though deep down I probably knew that it wasn't going to happen. But, I thought it was unique, and I respected it, and I understood it. I knew I wanted to be in a chaste relationship, and I could see the truth and the virtue in that. Mm-hmm. I'd never really heard about it before, though, so it was a little bit of a shock to me.
I had at least heard of it years before, and I remember thinking when I heard it, I was like, that's crazy, like, there's no way. And then I got into this relationship that wasn't a very good relationship, and I know, like, after we kissed, it didn't lead to where I wanted my relationship to be, and I knew it wasn't the right direction. And luckily, I was close with my mom, and she talked with me and was like, this isn't a good relationship. You need to break up with him. And my best friend said the same thing. So I listened to them, and I did. And then I was like, I realized, oh my gosh, that I was just totally bamboozled in that relationship. And kissing led that way. And I had some friends that, like, they had heard about this saving your kiss for marriage thing. And I was like, I can see the wisdom behind that. I think that would be a good idea. So that was late high school, early college that I decided that. So I had 4 years of college, like preparing myself. I'm just not going to kiss anybody until I get married. So Nick wasn't quite, didn't have as long preparation as I did.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So it took me... I had to be prepared during the relationship a little bit. So
and the first year was a rocky.
It was rocky. We almost broke up.
Multiple times.
Yeah, because it's hard. I'm a 24-year-old, or at the time we were in our early 20s, like 22, 23, and that's hard to do if you're a guy and you're dating someone not to kiss them. So, again, I respected it, I didn't always fully understand it. I understood the protecting of our chastity and the purpose of that, but still, I mean, you don't ever fully understand it. So
it's not that we never showed affection for each other.
Right.
We decided for our boundaries. We could kiss on the cheek, we could hold hands, we could hug, and everything like that. So it's not like that we never delved into a deep relationship with each other. Like we got to know each other not on the physical side, but on the spiritual and the mental and conversations. We had really deep conversations.
I don't know if they were that deep.
I mean, I thought it was deep.
Well, obviously, if you're not always expressing yourself physically to someone, you have to talk to them.
Exactly.
So the intimacy occurs not with the physical at that point, but with the spiritual, which is what helped our relationship really flourish. So, as Lauren was saying, she had experienced a relationship like that. I too had been in an unchaste relationship, and I agree with Lauren that had blinded, that blinds you because you don't see everything. You don't see the person for
who they are.
Right. You don't see the person for who they are.
You see the person for what you're getting from them.
Yep. You're caught up in the physical, and you're caught up in more of the passion part, if you will, which isn't a good foundation to build a relationship on, because that, in marriage, it's not always there. You got to have something. You got to have a solid foundation. So, as I came to understand it, that's why Lauren wanted to forego the kissing to build the relationship on a solid foundation, and not let it get carried off to one end, too far to one end. So, but anyways, back to that. So, there was still physical intimacy, but just like what Lauren said, holding hands, hugging, all that stuff, kiss on the cheek and whatnot. But we really built that intimacy we went to adoration a lot. We talked a lot. There was a lot of talking. And we did activities together, and it was great. I mean,
we were involved with the Catholic group on campus,
right?
And we did Bible studies and stuff.
Right. So we always had our faith. You can't do this without your faith, and it wasn't possible without our faith, because I don't think she struggled at all. I probably struggled for the most part, But about a year and a half, was it?
It was a year.
Was it a year?
Yeah, it was something.
I think. What did I don't even remember. Do you remember?
We got to the point where listen, I mean, this isn't working.
It's creating too much tension.
Nick kept coming to me and being like, I just can't get past this. I need that physical, kissing. I need that. And I was like, I'm just not doing it. It's just not going to work. If we do, I'm not going to do it. Because I don't know if God's calling us together or not. We're still discerning that in our dating time. And so we decided to go ahead and pray a novena, which is a 9-day prayer to St. Joseph. And so we did that every day. And on the 9th day, we ended up going to the beach and brought a picnic lunch or whatever. And just talked. And then Nick was like, okay, you know what?
Gave in.
I'm on board with this. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but let's do it. And from then on, he never really brought it up to me, which he would bring it up a lot. I'm really struggling again, and I'm like, I dreaded these conversations because I'm like, I'm not giving in. But finally, he never really brought it up anymore. He's like, I'm not going to say it's easy, and I was like, I understand, but I'm not going to give in, and I kept the bar really set high for our relationship.
Yeah.
And who's to say if we did kiss? I'm sure nothing might not have happened, but I already knew for me that this is the best thing that God had called me to do this, and it worked out. We dated for 3 years, not kissing, and it sounds probably crazy, and none of our friends none of my friends thought it was really weird. They were just like, wow, that's great. I mean, we told people, and people were like, that's amazing. I can't believe you can do that. And I'm like, with a lot of prayer, and it's not as hard, I think, as people think it is if you keep God in the center of your relationship.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe for you it was more.
Well, it's just like anything else difficult in life you go through. It's just.
And it's worth doing it. you know? And the wedding night was not awkward at all. And
We were able to kiss on the altar and not be awkward.
and it
either.
wasn't a weird kiss. Yeah, we actually kissed 3 times, and
That's right.
everyone jokes like it was the 3 years you're making up for.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah. I mean, I think you said it good. I mean, it's just like it's amazing what happened after that novena. Yeah, I just remember being at peace and just, okay, this is what God wants. He wants me to be in this relationship, and I'm just gonna power through it, whatever struggles there might be, and just it'll be worth it in the end. So, so yeah, from there after that, there was a lot more certainty in the relationship because I was always questioning, okay, is this the right thing? Should I be in this relationship? Oh, is this going to be a constant struggle? What is it going to be like after we get married? You know, I was always struggling with those questions.
Right.
You always come up with the worst case scenario in your head, but it's like once we did that novena, it was very much at peace.
Do we ever struggle with intimacy in our marriage?
No, we don't. No. So, you know, so it's a beautiful thing. It's something that a lot of people maybe haven't heard about or even thought about, especially young women. Like Lauren said, she held the standard high, and it's important for women to hold a high standard because if the woman holds a high standard, then the men will follow through. If not, then the
that man's not worth your
it's
time.
not worth your time. So that's an important thing. It's like, women, you have all the power. You have all the power, and you're worth it. And so you need to hold that high standard, live that virtuous life, and the right man will come around and he will follow. And hopefully it's a nice, godly, virtuous man. So, and I think really it helped. It made the marriage, you know, we've been married 8 years, and I mean, I don't know, to this day we've never had like a major argument. I mean, 8 years, we're still relatively new, maybe, I guess, but I truly think the fact that we built that solid foundation before marriage that was based on friendship, that was based on intimacy through spirituality, really just, I think it just built a great foundation, and to the point where, you know, we're very much in sync in our marriage and where we want to take things, and still striving to be holy, and still striving to get our kids to be holy. And I mean, we have 4 kids. One's deceased, one to survive childbirth, but the 3 kids we do have, we're very much in sync with how we're raising them and how we want them to love Jesus and love God, and we want them to get to heaven, and we want to get each other to heaven. So I really believe that kind of whole journey has laid a foundation for that. It's so that kind of small act of sacrifice, I believe, kind of grew into something much larger and something much greater, and has helped us to, I don't know, be strong during times where we need to be strong. So, I mean,
right.
Because there was a time where you were on bed rest for a long time.
Yeah.
So that was difficult. You know, you can't be physically intimate with someone that's on complete bed rest. So, but we already practiced that. So it was, you know, you know, just things like that will pop up in marriage, and I really think, I don't know, I don't want to ramble too much, but anything to say
Pretty
about
much.
that, how it affected the marriage and stuff?
Yeah, I think since we didn't put the physical at the top of our relationship prior to marriage, and like we said, it blinds you in a lot of the character faults of the other person. We talked to each other. I knew Nick's faults. He knew my faults. We talked about, you know, a lot of hot topics and struggling things that people struggle with in marriage because they haven't discussed it prior to marriage. And then, like, in the sacrament of marriage, when you get married in the church, God gives you the graces through that sacrament and constantly renewing it throughout your marriage. So, yeah, I think it's worth it. And, you know, always set the bar high and draw your line for your relationship. Like, you know where you want to stop, and that's where you set it. Like, we knew we were never going to kiss on the lips, and that's where we ended, you know? So nothing ever got out of hand. So that was, that's how we did it. That's how we did 3 years without kissing. So I want to put that out there to everybody and see if anybody can beat that and go 4 or 5 years. I'm just kidding. Don't date that long.
And then we dated 3 years because we were in physical therapy school. We had to finish school before we got married.
Physical therapy school is 3 years, so we wanted to finish
financially
before we
support each other. Yeah. So, and then, there might be some guys out there who might propose it to a girl one day too. I don't know.
We've heard of a couple of our friends have also done it, so it's not. We're not the only.
Did they do it after they had already kissed though?
No, 2 haven't. 2
Okay.
didn't. Yeah.
Okay,
So yeah, some started like that.
So we're not the only couple. There's a lot of people out there who have done it. We didn't invent this, but it's something to think about, especially if you're young and thinking about getting married. And so I mean, if you really, I think it's all about sacrificing for the other person. That's what marriage is about. You are sacrificing for the person that you're marrying. So I like to think I sacrificed a lot before I got married for you. So and then so now the marriage has been great and everything. So
yeah.
So.
All right, go out there and do it.
Yeah. So thank you for listening to us talk. Again, this is Nick and Lauren. We're in Jacksonville, Florida, and hopefully this has inspired someone out there to set the bar a little bit higher and to live a virtuous relationship and really prepare for their marriage coming forward. Thanks for listening.
God bless you.